Hi everyone, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Sharon. I'm your yoga instructor for your fitness program, and today we are going to continue with our usual practice. If there's anybody new joining in or just wanting to observe, you're not too sure about yoga, just to dispel any myths about yoga, you do not have to be flexible in order to do yoga. Yoga is derived from the word yoke, which means basically union. So we're trying to unite, we are working to unite body, mind, and spirit through optimal use of our breath. So throughout the practice, I will remind you to draw your attention back to your breath. And whenever you need a break, please listen to your body, take breaks. If you need to adapt your practice because of issues going on with your body, or you're just stiff or sore, please feel free to make it comfortable and make it workable for you. And if you need water, take water. Anything you need, just go ahead and do it, and then join us when you're ready. So we're going to start on the floor on our backs. And if you know that that doesn't work well for you, you're more than welcome to sit up on the floor or sit in a chair even if you'd like, while we set out to ground ourselves and connect with our breath. And those of you that have yoga mats and straps and blocks, you can have them handy. Usually with what we do, we don't really need to incorporate those things a whole lot, but if you have them, you can have them handy. So we're going to have our feet out to the bottom corners of the mat, so fairly wide, and then the legs are just extended and stretched out. You're relaxed. So just think about relaxing down into the floor. If you feel like you need to really calm or ground yourself, then connect your hands, the palms of your hands, to the ground. And we're going to transition gradually over time from shallow chest breathing into a deeper, fuller inhale and exhale. So picture your lungs as a couple of balloons, and over time we are going to start to use more and more of that room available in each lung and really optimize our breathing. So as we continue to breathe and become more aware of our breath, we're also going to remind ourselves to let go of comparison, let go of competition, and let go of judgment. We're going to be grateful for what our bodies allow us to do today in this moment. Throughout your practice, do your best to stay present. Keep your mind connected with your body. And as you continue, take notice of how the breathing can really help to quiet your mind, help you set aside any busy thoughts that you may have going on in there, and just really help to quiet the mind, which then calms the body. Take notice of how the chest and the belly start to rise a little bit more as you can fill up more space in each lung. And just take notice of how that torso in general feels like it's opening up more with your breath. Nice deep breath in through the nose, keeping the jaw soft throughout, and just gently exhale through the mouth. So we're going to bend our knees and place our feet down on the mat, and we're going to start to move the knees from side to side. We're going to coordinate this movement with our inhale and exhale. So we're still going to keep it fairly slow and move with intention and be very aware of our breath. So with the knees facing up towards the ceiling, we're going to inhale. Really think about filling those lungs up. Take your time. Practice patience while you wait to fill up your lungs. Everybody's probably going to be at a little different pace, so that's totally fine. Just go at your pace and how, based on how much you can fill your lungs up. When you're ready to move or exhale, you're going to let your knees down to one side or the other. And again, once you let those knees down, you might need to pause there while you finish your exhale. Then take notice of areas where you're feeling a little bit of tension and tightness. And on this next inhale, as we bring the knees up towards the ceiling, you're going to use that inhale and think about directing that breath towards those areas where you felt or are feeling some tightness and tension. And then when we go to exhale and move the knees to the other side, you're going to release that tension out through your exhale. So this movement here is very slow right now. We're still grounding, connecting with our breath, utilizing the breath with coordinating with the movement, inhaling, filling those lungs up, opening up the body with that breath. And then when you're ready to exhale, release it down. Release the knees down. Don't force it. Over time, when we go through this movement a little bit more each time, the body will open up with the breath. And you'll be able to get those knees down a few more millimeters each time. Don't overthink it. Don't judge it. Just let it be. So windshield wipers are great for opening up the hip joints, bringing length into the inner and outer thigh muscles. We're getting some tactile feedback from the bottoms of the feet as we roll across the bottoms of the feet to the inner and outer edges of our feet. And we're also doing a bit of self-massage across the low back and the top of the glutes as we come into spinal twist. So at this point, if you're happy with how the hips and knees are moving, you can start to turn your head in the opposite direction that the knees are going. Nice and slow. Inhaling as the knees face up to the ceiling, remembering to use full capacity of your lungs on the inhale, maybe needing to pause here while you wait for that to happen, and then exhale, let those knees down slowly, turn the head, bringing some movement into the neck and the cervical vertebrae. Think about opening up through the side body with the breath as well. So we're moving into twist, getting some stretch in the side of the body, getting some stretch in the neck as if you're turning your head from side to side. If you're not, that's totally fine. If you know you have neck issues or limited range of motion in your neck, then just keep your gaze fixed upwards. We're going to do one more. And then we're going to bring those knees back up to face the ceiling. We're going to walk the feet in a little bit closer together so that they're somewhere between hip distance and shoulder distance apart. And we're going to just slide those heels back a little closer to the glutes because we're preparing to come into hip bridge. So palms connected to the ground, arms out at the side body, about 45 degrees away from the side body. You're going to inhale first, again opening up that body with your inhale. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to push away into the floor through your feet and hands. Lift the back and the hips and send the top of your hips up towards the ceiling. Feel your glutes engage, and you're going to knit your ribs together on top, so your abs are going to engage also. Finish your exhale, and then when you're ready to inhale, slowly, gently release the back and the hips down towards the mat again. Let things soften and relax. Work on your next breath in. Be aware of the chest rising, the belly rising and expanding, the spaces between the ribs opening up, the side body opening up, and the back body opening up. And then you're going to firmly press down into the floor through your feet and your hands. Engage the back and the glutes and engage the abs. So in your abs, you're feeling that, getting that feeling when you cough or laugh really hard and those abs contract. The glutes are in and up, top of the hips are up. Complete your exhale. And again, when you're ready to inhale, slowly lower hips and back down to the mat. If you need a break from this at any point, you can extend your legs out and just relax, or you can draw your knees in towards your chest. Sometimes putting the spine into flexion or rounding out, this is a nice way to break things up from bridge. So when you're ready to do your next one, go ahead, exhale, lift. Think about engaging more muscle fibers each time, just gently waking up the core and the back body, the posterior chain, and the front portion of the core. Okay, now let's all go ahead and bring those legs in close, lift the tailbone a little bit, and gently rock from side to side. So if you're tight through the knees and the hips and the bend quite isn't there yet, then just gently hold at the low part of your hamstrings underneath your knees so that your knees have a little bit of room to open up a bit, and you can still gently rock from side to side. Good. From here, we're going to activate the core a little bit here with dead bugs. So we're going to put the hips at 90 degrees, the knees at 90 degrees, and we're going to pull the toes towards us and put the feet into flexion. So lots of nice square angles going on in the upper body or in the lower body. Then in the upper body, we're going to extend our arms up towards the ceiling, and we're going to stack our hands over our shoulders, have our palms facing each other. And now, even before we start, we're going to draw the navel in and down. So that feeling that you get, again, if you're laughing or coughing really hard, I want you to have that going on even before we start. So you can still breathe with your abs engaged. There's just some tension in there because you're holding your spine down towards the mat. So you're going to inhale, holding those abs tight, and then as you exhale, opposite arm and leg, extend down and out without touching the floor. Ideally, inhale to reset, and then exhale, other arm and leg out. So we want an active leg. That's why I recommended flexing the foot. So when you go to exhale this time and extend, think about there being a heavy cart that you're pushing away through the bottom of your foot. A cart on wheels, maybe it's full of rocks or firewood or something, and then you can move the other side. And again, anytime you need a break from this, because it is quite a lot of work on the core, you can just collapse the legs, rock it out, let the abs soften, and then maybe reset and try and do a couple more. So give yourself breaks if you need. Inhale and exhale. Nice deep breath in, holding some tension and tightness in the core, waking up those ab muscles, and then one more. Good. Again, hug those legs in, gently rock from side to side. And then we're going to come into lying spinal twist. So this one's going to be a stationary hold. So put your knees out to tabletop. Release the left leg all the way down. You're going to take your right arm and place it out to the side body, just at or slightly below shoulder level. Take your left hand, place it on the outside of your right knee, and then gently guide your right leg across the front of the body over towards the left side of the mat. And if it's available, start to turn your head in the opposite direction. So you're going to feel some stretch in the outer thigh on the right and the outer hip on the right. Do your best to keep the right shoulder blade and the left shoulder blade down on the mat. So if you're tight through the body and the right shoulder blade starts to lift, just bring this right leg back closer to the center line so that the shoulder blade comes down. Now you need to draw your focus back to your breath. So areas where you're feeling tightness, maybe around the waist, in the hip, in the outer thigh, you're going to visualize each inhale going towards those areas, and maybe think about there being little inflatable balloons in those areas that you can use your breath to open up, blow up those balloons, creating space in those areas where you're feeling this tightness and tension. And then when you exhale, you release that tension and tightness out through your exhale. And then the leg can melt down a little bit more. Then maybe you feel a new set of stretching going on, or new areas of tightness you're noticing. So again, use your breath. Stay connected with your breath. Nice big inhale. Think about opening up the hip area and the outer thigh area with your inhale, and then exhale. And then let that leg melt down a little bit more. So you got one more breath cycle here. Inhale deeply. And then on this exhale, we're going to draw the navel in, create some tension in the abs, and then use our strength in the abs to draw that knee back towards the center line into that tabletop position that we came from. Then bring both legs in and gently rock from side to side. So if you need a break, you need some water, go ahead, take it. Breathe comfortably while you just rock and roll here. Bring it to still. You're going to keep the left knee in towards your body and release the right leg down. Okay, and then gently let that left leg set it into tabletop. So 90 degrees in the knee, 90 degrees in the hip. Left arm out to the side body, just about shoulder height or just a little lower than that. Palm connected to the ground. Take your right hand, connect it on the outside of the left knee. Inhale, and then when you exhale, gently guide that left leg across the front body over to the right side of your mat, or over to the right side of your body. And if it's available, you can turn your head and look towards your left hand. And it's totally normal if you are noticing a bit of a difference between the range of motion between left and right. Again, you can acknowledge it, let it be, let it go, don't judge it. Draw your focus back to your breath. And again, if your left shoulder blade is lifting quite a bit, simply send that left leg back towards the center line until the left shoulder blade comes down, and then work from there. So use your inhale to open up those tight spots. Take your time. Be patient. Allow your body to take the time to open up. And use that right hand to gently guide that left knee down a little closer. Use that left hand to help create a little bit more stretch through those muscle fibers. Also connect your body and mind to the left shoulder, and just remind that left shoulder that you want it to relax down into the mat. You might also need to make a connection between the mind and the front of the left shoulder and the left pec. If they're tight, then the release in the back of the shoulder is going to be a little bit more challenging. So one more breath cycle here. And again, if it's not comfortable to turn the head, just keep your gaze up towards the ceiling. When you're ready to exhale, this time you're going to draw the belly button in, create tension in the abs, and use strength in your abs to help draw the leg back towards the center line and release it down all the way. We're going to take our arms up overhead, and on our inhale, we're going to make ourselves as tall and long as possible. So if you can point your toes, reach down and out through the tips of your toes, reach up and out through the tips of your fingers as you inhale, and make yourself as tall and long as possible. Stretch, lengthen. And then when you exhale, you're just going to simply let everything soften and relax from where it is. So that might mean the backs of the hands become a little heavy, the elbows bend and slide downwards, the backs of the arms just melt down into the mat and the floor, the hips relax, the glutes relax, and then the feet just naturally roll out. And the head becomes soft and heavy. When you're ready to inhale again, stretch, lengthen. See if you can think about making yourself a little longer and taller each time, even if it's just by a millimeter or two. Really reach down and out, reach up and out. A little bit harder to let the upper body expand. It's harder to open up the body with your breath when you're in a big stretch. However, again, just stay connected with your breath. When you're ready to exhale, just let everything soften and relax. Really think about all the joints, all the muscles, all the tendons, all the ligaments, just melting and softening as you exhale. And one more time, when you're ready, you're going to really stretch and lengthen. Imagine that somebody's holding onto your wrists and pulling upwards. Somebody else is holding onto your ankles, pulling downwards, and you feel this big stretch through the main part of your body. And then this time we're going to compress or curl into a ball on the exhale. So you're going to draw your knees in. You're going to hug those legs in. If you can, peel your head and shoulders up. Those of you that can, you can connect your nose to your knees, your chin to your knees, or your forehead to your knees. Maybe some of you can hold on to the bottoms of your feet and really curl into that compression. And then gently let the head and shoulders down. Hold underneath the knees at the low part of the hamstring. Round the spine, rock forward and back, make it bigger and bigger, and rock yourself up into seated position. Now is a good time to have a couple sips of water. And we're going to come onto hands and knees, or quadruped position. So knees under hips, hands under shoulders, and we're going to move through the spine. So as you inhale, we're going to come into what we call a cow. So the arms stay extended or straight, and as you inhale, you sink the belly down towards the mat, lift the tailbone, lift the chin a little bit, and fix your gaze past the top of your mat. When you're ready to exhale, we're going to put some roundness in the spine. So we're going to put flexion into the spine, pull the back of the spine up towards the ceiling, tuck the chin into your chest, tuck your tailbone under, push away from the floor, create space between your shoulder blades. So you're going to move between spinal extension and spinal flexion, keeping the arms straight. So when you extend, slide the shoulder blades back and down out of the way so you can really sink the belly, lift the tailbone, and then some of you might be able to fix your gaze a little bit more forward and create more length in the front of the neck as well. And then when you're ready to exhale, really round up like an angry cat. You can even make a tent with your fingertips and then walk those hands back towards your knees, really round out. Create lots of space between each vertebrae. And then when you're ready to inhale, walk it back out so your hands are underneath your shoulders. Spread your fingers out like starfish and sink the belly. Some of you might be able to start looking up even more towards the ceiling even. Don't force it. Never do anything that causes you excruciating pain. You can challenge just a little bit outside your comfort zone, but never try and push past pain. That's your body telling you you've gone a bit too far. And come back to neutral spine. And we're going to work on the core from this hand and knee position or quadruped position. You can work from the tops of the feet flat, or if you want to get a bit more stretch through the ball joints of the feet and the Achilles, you can tuck your toes. We're coming into bird dog. So it's like the upside down version of your dead bug. So we're going to move opposite arm and leg. So you're going to inhale first, and then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to push away from the floor and then extend opposite arm to leg to make a nice long straight line that's parallel to the floor and the ceiling. Then when you're ready to inhale, you're going to bring it back in. So you really need to engage your core. When you go to move the arm and the leg, that feeling that you're going to cough or laugh really hard, that should come into your abdomen while you exhale. So a lot of engagement through the abs and the glute on the extended leg, and then bring it back in. So if you need a break from this one, a nice way to take a break is to just sink back and down and relax into child's pose. Or you can just pause in hands and knees position. Okay? So anytime you need a break, take it. Another breath in. And then when you're ready to exhale, opposite arm to leg. If you feel better about pointing your toe, you can point your toe on the extension, or you can flex the foot, whatever feels best for you. Inhale, bring it in. And then when you've filled up your lungs and you're ready, then exhale and move. Bring it back. We're going to do one more each side. So the other thing I'd like you to keep in mind is when you go to extend your leg, make sure the front of that hip is facing down towards the mat. So we don't want to externally rotate through the hip joint. So inhale and engage that glute and keep the front of the hip facing down towards the mat. Again, bring it in, and one more on the other side. Side two. Deep breath in. Open up the body with the breath. And then remember to create tension in the abs when you move. You extend arm and leg. Draw those muscles in and up. And engage the glute muscle on the leg that you're extending. Keep that arm straight. And then bring it in. Now you can take a break. So whatever feels best for you. If you like child's pose, sink those hips back and down. You can use cushions, blocks to support underneath the hips. Same with your forehead. So if you know that you're feeling a bit tight today and the bend isn't quite available in the knees and the hips, you can use your couch cushions, whatever you have there to support your hips and or your forehead. The other way you can support your forehead is just stack your fists and rest your forehead on your fists. And you don't have to worry about suspending your hips or your head in the air. You can just completely let them rest on something so you can relax down into your child's pose. So in child's pose, again, is a nice time to connect with your breath. You can really be aware of your upper body opening up into your thighs as you inhale. You can also feel your side body and back body opening up. So the other way I like to describe it is think about stretching the fabric of your top with your inhale. Then when you're ready to exhale, let everything just melt down. And again, take a deep breath in. And this time on the exhale, you're coming back to hands and knees. Good. So we're going to do a little bit of a flow here. So we're going to walk our hands just about one hand length forward. You're going to inhale first, and then you're going to exhale back and down into your child's pose. You're going to inhale back to hands and knees position. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to tuck your toes and come into plank and complete your exhale. So inhale while you're in plank, squeezing your abs and your glutes. And then when you exhale, you're going to release the knees back down. And then inhale. If the toes are tucked, flatten the tops of the feet and send the hips back and down so you can reset in child's pose. So I'll talk you through it again. So inhale while in child's pose. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to move into hands and knees position. And then you're going to inhale again. And then on the exhale, you're going to transition into that high plank. So inhale every time before you go into the next position, basically. So you inhale in plank, then when you exhale, you come back to hands and knees. Then from hands and knees, you inhale. And then when you're ready to exhale, send the hips back and down into child's pose and reset. So one more time all together. From child's pose, we're going to inhale. On the exhale, we move into hands and knees position. Make sure your hands are a little bit forward. Inhale first. Tuck the toes and come into high plank. So squeeze the glutes in and down. If you can have your hips at or just below shoulder height, that's ideal. Inhale. And then exhale those knees down. While you're inhaling, flatten the tops of the feet. And then on this last exhale, send your hips back and down into child's pose. So if you like the length in the arms and stretching out through the lats, stay here with your arms extended. If you want to bring it in close, coming into embryo pose, bring the arms in close to the body with the backs of the hands resting down beside your feet. And then you can, if you need support for your forehead, put down a block or two or some cushions. If you can get your forehead down to the floor, just let it relax onto the mat or the floor. I want you to just go through a couple breath cycles there in embryo pose or child's pose. Again, drawing your focus back to your breathing. Good, and then peel yourself up into a low kneel where your hips are resting on your feet. So again, if you need to adjust because of knees or hips, you can. But we're going to move from low kneel into high kneel. So we're going to have our arms extended in front, palms face each other. You're going to inhale first, and then you're going to exhale up into high kneel. And we're going to move from high kneel into low kneel. So inhale. And then exhale. So the modification for this, for those of you that need or want, you can do this from a chair. Okay, so what you could do is sit, and then when you're ready to exhale, come into a stand. And move between seated and standing position if you prefer that. Otherwise, we're going to work from low kneel and high kneel. So work on the flexion in the hips and the knees, and stacking those upper legs over top of our lower legs, keeping some active, keeping the arms active, then moving into high kneel, squeezing the glutes a little bit and pressing the hips forward, stacking the spine. Inhale first, and then exhale back down into kneel. One more. This is a little bit challenging on the shoulders as well. Inhale and exhale. So the progression for those of you that like or want would be inhale here, and then when we exhale, we're going to start to move the arms up as well and work on that extension in the shoulders. And then when we sit back down, we bring those arms down, inhale, and exhale, aiming to have your hands stacked over your shoulders. So regression, or a little bit of an adaptation for those of you that have shoulder impingement issues, is when you come up, bring it into a little bit more open extension so you have more room through the shoulder here, okay? Then it should allow you to straighten those arms a little bit more. And then when you come down, you should be able to have them out in front of you in the extended position. Simply bring your arms down now. Maybe shake them out a little bit because that can be fatiguing on the shoulders. Grab some water. Good. And then we're going to move from here into a kneeling position. So you're going to come up to high kneel and place your knees just about hip distance apart or a little bit wider. And then you can physically help your right foot step forward, or just step your right foot forward. So we're in an actual kneeling position. So your left knee will be stacked under your left hip. Your left foot should be directly behind your left knee, and you're going to tuck your toes under. You might need to reposition your foot so you have that foot right behind that left knee. And the right foot, instead of coming straight out in front of you, if straight out in front of you was 12 o'clock, we want this right foot to be out at about 1 o'clock, or maybe like somewhere between 1 and 2. So a little bit on the bias. Bring both arms down by your side body, shoulders back and down, spine tall. We're going to inhale first, and when you're ready to exhale, we're going to bring that right arm up and over and create stretch in the side body. So you got to engage your left glute and press your left hip forward. When you're ready to inhale, bring it back down. And then exhale up and over. So again, if the kneeling position isn't great for somebody out there, you can do this seated in your chair. Okay, so you would sit and just bring that arm up and over, and then you can hold on to the chair, the side of the chair, with your left hand. So you can do this from a seated position in the chair or on your couch, whatever works best. Okay, it's nice to be in kneel because you can put your left glute into that active position and press your left hip forward to get deeper into the hip flexor and the quad. So go ahead and bring that back into your high kneel. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So step your left foot forward to about 11 o'clock or somewhere between 10 or 11 o'clock. And then have a look if you can kind of gauge, make sure that your right knee is stacked under your right hip and your right foot is directly behind your right knee. You're going to tuck that toe, arms down by your side, shoulders back and down. Pull your spine up nice and tall. Inhale first, and then exhale, reach that left arm up and over, creating stretch in your left side of your body. Inhale, and then exhale. Inhale, And exhale. Inhale and exhale. Good. Then from here, we're going to stand right up. Help yourself up. Grab some water if you need. And we're going to do a standing spinal roll down. So we're going to go to the back of the mat. You're going to spread your toes out. So it's nice to put space between your toes and really think about creating a wide, stable base with your feet. Shoulders up, back, and down. So just standing in this position with your arms at your side body and your palms connected to the outsides of your thighs. This is mountain or Tadasana. So this position is really nice to come into and just connect with your breath again. So you can fix your gaze forward or slightly forward and downward, or you could even close your eyes and fix your gaze inward and just draw your attention back to your breathing. So again, on the inhale, think about stretching or opening up the fabric of your top with your inhale. So really expanding outwards with that inhale. And then when you exhale, let it out slowly and evenly. Another cycle of breathing. Good. So staying connected to your breath as best as you can, we're going to continue with that breath work in a similar rhythm and tempo. You're going to inhale deeply, and then during your exhale, you're going to start by tucking your chin into your chest, and you're going to roll yourself down towards the floor, ending up in a ragdoll hang. So during your exhale, you're going to let this happen. Have a little bit of softness in the knees, and you're going to start to feel some stretch in the back of the legs. Let the arms hang heavy out of their sockets and let the head hang heavy. So the top of the head can face down towards the floor. If you like, you can cradle your elbows with your hands and really just allow yourself to hang. On your next inhale, again, open up your body with your breath. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to draw your belly button in and up, and you're going to slowly start to bring yourself up using strength in your abs. Come up one vertebrae at a time, chin into chest, so the head will be the last thing to come up. And then as you come up, shoulders go up, back, and down. So again, you're going to continue with that. Breathe in, open up the body with the breath, stretch the fabric of your top with your inhale. And then as you come down, you're going to articulate through each vertebrae. You're going to tuck the chin in, you're going to come down, using the duration of your exhale, creating space between each vertebrae. Feeling the arms starting to become heavy, feeling the head becoming heavy. So this time, once you're down here, you can move. You can add movement if you like. You can sway gently side to side, or you can add a little bit of a bounce, or you can just hang there and you can allow your head to move from side to side, like you're shaking your head no, but in slow motion. Or you can move your head up and down like you're nodding yes, but again, very slowly. So you can do any or all, a combination of all or none of those, whatever you feel like your body
wants or needs. And then when you're ready to come up, again, breathe in, open up your body with your breath. And then engage your abs before you come up. Use the strength in your abs to come up slowly with intention, one vertebrae at a time. Chin into chest. Head will be the last thing to come up. And then shoulder blades can elevate, retract, and depress. Good. Nice deep breaths in and out. So just pause in Tadasana here. Let your shoulder blades melt back and down. Let your shoulders relax. Create some length between the top of your shoulders and the bottoms of your ears. And then we're gonna come into sunflower. So we're gonna inhale and exhale. Catch yourself in a squat. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Keep moving. Sunflower is great to open up through the hips. Again, get those knee joints moving. Create some mobility through the ankles. And the movement of the arms gets the circulation going a little bit more, creating some heat. And then you can also focus on the inhale and exhale of your breath. So it creates heat. Do a few more. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Do your best to keep the front body facing forward. Keep your gaze forward. One more, and pause in sun. So we're gonna stay in this wide squat. Open up your fingers, resembling the rays of the sun, and your elbows are bent approximately at 90 degrees, and you're in a partial sumo squat or wide squat. So here's a good place to also draw your attention back to your breath. So we're gonna inhale and exhale. One more inhale and exhale, come up. Good. So we're gonna come into side lunge. So we're gonna open up through the right hip. So you're gonna start to bend the right knee, keep the left knee straight, and come into a little bit of a side lunge. So those of you that have the range of motion available, you're gonna come down and you're gonna anchor your right elbow to the lower inner thigh, and then you're gonna reach up and out through that left arm. Create a nice long straight line that goes from your left foot up and out through your left fingertips. Okay, and then we're gonna windmill those arms out to the side. Come up with both knees extended. Nice deep breath in and out. And then we're gonna start to shift to the other side. So bend the left knee and have your knee tracking over your second and third toes if possible. If you need to help that knee open a little bit, place your hand on the inside of the knee and just help it open a little bit. And then you can still come into your side stretch here. Make a nice long straight line that goes from your right foot up and out through your right hand. And then windmill it back to legs straight. And bring those arms down. Good, and then we're gonna inhale and then we're gonna exhale down into a squat. So wherever your hands are comfortable, on your waist, on your hips, or out to the side, inhale first and then exhale down. Good. Inhale up. And while you're exhaling down, think about engaging your abs in here. So tilt your tailbone under a little bit and get that feeling in your belly that you're laughing or coughing really hard. Inhale up. And one more time. Exhale down. Engage abs. Tilt the tailbone under just a little bit. And come up. Good. All right. Bring those legs in close. Then we're going to come into a narrow chair squat. So I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see, because we're going to add twist as well. So feet about hip distance apart, And you're going to put some space between your toes. And we're going to have our hands in namaste position. So while you come down into chair pose, I want you to create a bit of opposing force between your hands. So a little bit of tension through the upper body. So inhale. And then as you exhale, push the hands together and start to sit in this imaginary chair as you finish your exhale. And then inhale back up to stand. Okay? So fill your lungs up. Let the tension release through the upper body a little bit. And then when you're ready to exhale, push the hands together. Sit into that imaginary chair. Keep your feet flat into the mat. And then when you're ready to inhale, come up. Relax the hands a little bit. Release the pressure and the tension in the upper body. So this time, we're going to twist to the right. So you're going to inhale. You're going to come down and you're going to start to rotate or twist the body and see if you can hook the left elbow on the outside of the right knee. If not, just open up the arms a little bit and you can lever into your the outside of your right leg and come into a bit of a twist. And then you're going to come up, hands in namaste position again. And then as we exhale, we're going to come down and twist to the left. And again, if you can hook your right elbow on the outside of the left knee and then send that left elbow up towards the ceiling, that's one way you can do it. Or you can open up the arms. And then when you're ready to come up, come up. So you can do chair with or without the twist. Now that you've seen both, you can decide what serves your body best in this moment. So we'll do a couple more. Inhale and exhale without rotation or with. And when you're ready to come up, come on up. And you can take an extra breath cycle while you're standing before you go into your next chair. You're absolutely welcome to do that. So if you need a break, you can just relax your arms down, walk it out if you need to, and do one more. Inhale and exhale. Opposing force between palms if you're not twisting, or if you're twisting, turn it and open up. Good, and bring it back in. Good, so let's do our T-spine opener before we prepare for Shavasana. So I'm coming, anywhere in your mat is fine, just as long as you have enough room to extend your arms in front of you and windmill them open to either side. So you're going to inhale here with your arms extended at or just below shoulder height. And then when you exhale, you're going to windmill your right arm open, follow that hand with your eyes, twist around as much as you can, and then inhale it back to reset. And then when you're ready to exhale, you're going to windmill the left arm open, follow that hand with your eyes, get the left shoulder blade back and down so you can open up through the T-spine more, and then inhale, windmill it back. Good. So you're going to do that a couple more times. If you need a break, bring your arms down, shake them out. If you're good to go, inhale first, and then exhale, open up. Inhale it back to reset. Again, fill those lungs up. And then as you exhale slowly and evenly, use that time to open up a little bit more and then bring it together. Good. All right, shake it out. So we're going to come down, and before we come into Shavasana, we're going to just do a couple Kegel exercises for pelvic floor strength. So bend your knees, place your feet down on the mat. Place your hands on your belly so that the middle fingers line up on the outsides of your belly button. Your belly button is going to be the center of the clock, and then just keep in mind the numbers going around the center of the clock. So we're going to start with an inhale. You're going to really do your best to use as much space in your lungs as you can. Really be aware of that top part of your body, the front part of your body opening up towards the ceiling. Then you're going to feel your hands kind of slide apart from each other, and your fingers will spread open a little bit more as the belly expands and opens up with the breath. And then when you're ready to exhale, slowly, evenly, we're going to start to contract the ab muscles. So think about the numbers around the center of the clock, coming in and down towards the center of the clock. The spine is moving down closer into the mat, and you're feeling your belly and the muscles underneath pulling away from the palms of your hands. The fingers might even start to knit together. They might crisscross as that belly pulls in and down even more. Think about involving as many muscle fibers as you can. So again, those muscles that you would use to laugh or cough really hard, plus the muscles that you use to hold your bladder, are now becoming involved as well. So you're getting deeper into the layers as you finish your exhale. And when you're ready to inhale, you're going to let things open up. You're going to let those fingers spread apart and slide apart. You're going to go really slow and really stay connected with your body. Stay in this moment. Do your best to not get distracted. Use that space in your lungs to open up your body. On your next exhale, you're going to try and recruit more muscle fibers than last time. So really think about contracting into those layers of your abs, into the layers of your pelvic floor. You got your transversus abs working here as well. So lots of muscle fibers becoming involved as you complete your exhale. Maybe feel the fingertips just knitting towards each other, around each other. The hands are coming closer together as the belly and the abs pull away from underneath the hands. Finish that exhale, squeeze, tighten, contract, engage, and then release. So you can practice these contractions even when you're sitting. If you're waiting in a traffic light, at a red light, you can practice this contraction while you're seated, while you're lying in bed, while you're sitting watching TV. You can do these pretty much anywhere. One more time. On this exhale, do your best to stay connected to the muscles that you're trying to recruit. Big contraction, strengthening those abs. Using your mind-body connection to keep control, maintain control over those parts of your body. You're ready to release. Let it happen slowly. Slowly, gently. And then we're going to come into corpse pose for Svasana. So short, sweet Shavasana. Feet out to the bottom corners of the mat. Arms out to the side body with the palms down or the palms up. Whatever allows you to soften and relax. Go ahead and close your eyes. And you're going to start to have a look at the body using your mind. So scan your body up and down, side to side, maybe in a circular motion, cylindrical motion, up and down the legs, up and down the arms, up and down the whole length of the body. If you find any spots where you're still hanging on to residual tension, use your breath. So with each inhale, you can tell yourself, I am calm. And as you exhale, tell yourself, I am relaxed. All right, so we're going to bring our awareness back to the rooms that we're in. Start by wiggling your toes and your fingers slowly, gently. And then allow your head to just slowly, gently roll from one side to the other. Let your eyes open. Go ahead and bend your knees. Place your feet down on the mat. And then let your knees down to one side or the other. Let your upper body follow. And just pause in the fetal position on your side. Get oriented with your space and then help yourself up into a seated position. So again, however you can be comfortable in the seated position. We're going to sit up nice and tall. As we inhale, we're going to float those arms and hands up towards the ceiling, palms together at the top. As you exhale, bring those hands down to your heart center. Connect your hands to your heart. Namaste, everybody.